All right, we're recording. You guys ready?
There you go.
All right, guys. Tonight we're coming to you to talk more of a spiritual side of the podcast. We brought our spiritual advisor on tonight, Cory. He's the unofficial spiritual advisor. We got Cory Zimmerman. We got Collin Klein, my cousin, and then myself, the wanderer. So why don't we give out some of our bona fides here and we'll get this going. How about you, Cory? What are your bona fides?
So I'm a MDiv board certified chaplain. I've been working since 2014 as a hospice chaplain, bereavement coordinator. Some people don't like that word, so they call me a life coach. And so I developed a company called Bald Advisor because I got nothing, no hair up there, and it kind of fit. So I've been doing that for the last couple of years and trying to build that up. And I've been a district pastor and all kinds of other stuff. So I've had a crazy cool life so far. How about you, Colin?
Yeah, I'm a general contractor. Work for my dad. We have a general a construction company. We do windows, doors, installations. It's kind of our bread and butter. But we do remodels, new construction, whatever makes sense. We kind of keep it loose. So we've been doing that our whole lives, pretty much. I went to college for economics, finance, and business admin, and ended up not using it because they were pretty much wrong about most things except for accounting. That was pretty much the only class that was correct in hindsight. I traveled a lot, got a lot of a large amount of world experience, just in terms of different cultures, how people think, like people or what interests me. In my spare time, I study, what do you call it? Comparative religions, I guess, is what most people would call it. I like to understand how people think or different belief systems. I am a Christian. I was raised and born Christian, but we're into that world. I love anthroposophy as a science. I study, kind of the occult stuff, secret society stuff, history. And the only reason I got into occult stuff is because the elites are all into it. That's the only reason. So to understand them, I had to study what they're into. And anyway, it's a broad reaching. I try to keep my aperture as wide as humanly possible. So
Yeah, well, let's see my bona fides. I am a former disgruntled truck driver. No, I drove truck for about 16 years. Now I'm a stay-at-home dad until my daughter's old enough to go back to go to preschool. And then let's see, my schooling was automotive engineering, which I have a associate's degree in. Yeah, it's nothing compared to the brain trust I have joining me tonight, but I got it legit. But
time to listen to podcasts on the road. So
well,
Cody's appreciative.
that, and I've seen and been involved in a lot of government projects. Um, I had a clearance level for the government that got me into a lot of different things, which made me come to the conclusion that pretty much all the government's just lying to us about everything. So that's pretty much my stance. I don't know if that's a Republican or a Democrat stance, but that's pretty much the one I have. So, but let's see. Yeah, that's my bona fides. So, anyways, what are we talking about tonight, guys?
Well, we're all former Seventh Day or current Seventh Day Adventists. Actually, Corey, you're still an active member of the church, right?
Yes.
You are. Okay, cool. And Cody's kind of in the middle, and I
Well,
am.
I would say that on paper, I'm an active member.
Yeah,
So,
and my family left, or my immediate family, my mom and dad left when I was in fifth grade, so I was born and raised into it. Um, I was very interested in understanding religion or the paradigm of Adventism. So it was a bit of a shock to overnight just not being a part of it because I didn't understand what they were seeing and why. So it was, it took me many years. I still haven't, I mean, it laid out a pattern of my wanting to understand belief systems in general was from that event. So that kind of opened my door to curiosity in that way. But as of right now, I do not currently attend church. I'm not against it. I just haven't found one that I think are willing to be honest about our current situation. And that bothers me.
Okay. What would make you say that they're not honest? Just going off on a side note here.
I think, the weaponization of information, how people I mean, if you study psychological warfare for like a little bit, just you only need to read like a couple of books on, not even read, just, understand the concept. It's undeniable that humans, especially in this country, are under immense psychological warfare, attack, like direct attack through an apparatus that we basically fund, and it leads to to me. There's no difference between using psi war and kinetic war. If anything, psi war is more deadly.
Cyborg, what does that mean to you?
It controls people's paradigm, their what's the word? The Overton window of what they see and perceive as a part of their reality. People go to church to hopefully get a glimpse into the spiritual world or into the real, into truth. And if they're not providing that service, that to me is pretty much their core function. And if they're failing at that function, in the sense that they don't even understand they don't have the discernment to realize that is what is happening. And many pastors, you talk to them quietly or one on one, they all understand, but they're all scared. So it's kind of like the Soviet Union, where pastors have to become state churches and become this kind of middle of the road, no, don't offend anybody, be down, just and it'd be politically correct so that you don't lose half your congregation, because half of your congregation is at least half is under a certain, well, both sides are under a certain paradigm. You don't want to offend either one. So because that's been done on purpose, it's not an accident they got us on red team, blue team, literally 50-50. Like you're red team or blue team. I mean, it's silly on the face of it. And people know that if you talk to them one on one, but I think it's the church's responsibility to be that stake in the ground for reality. And it doesn't mean they have to be perfect, but at least try, instead of trying to make everyone just feel better. And that's what it feels like.
Cory, you were on the inside of a big church organization. What is your take on that?
Well,
That's pretty harsh, but
so
I'm open to being wrong. Sorry.
so when you're looking at it, until you're ordained, it's a microscope, and if you cross the line after ordination, you have to cross it pretty hard um, in order to get kicked out. But it depends on how the conference is run. Yet the flip side is when you go to seminary in Barron Springs, Michigan, they have their own wide estate type stuff, and they talk about the portrait, how many times it's been redone. Because jewelry, there was some jewelry on Ellen White, and then because of tradition and folklore and all that kind of stuff, they had to redo it a couple times, so to make it the new updated Adventism type stuff. And so when they're honest in those departments, you're like hearing what it was really like and that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, here it is. Are they good people? Yes. Are there bad people? Yes. Are they middle of the road people? Yes. And this is what I've seen in all denominations.
Yeah.
Because I'm interfaith, I work with everybody as a hospice chaplain. I meet people from all kinds of backgrounds. There doesn't seem to be a church that is 100% honest and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's got a different spin. Everyone's got something new because you got to be catchy. You got to get people in. You got to do all these things. And being honest and being truthful and not trying to make mad both sides or all sides, kind of like Jesus did. He made everybody mad at different points,
Mhm.
yet people still followed him, right? Because, hey, he was honest, he was
Yeah,
truthful,
yeah,
and you couldn't dispute what he was saying. And it's hard because you're also looking at your paycheck. Jesus never looked at a paycheck. Looking at a paycheck, and your family's living off that paycheck. It's a small paycheck, and there's places where pastors are hard to find because economy went up like the last 4 years. People dropped out of being pastors, including seminaries down, all that kind of stuff because people can't make it on a low amount of finances.
yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that are happening
Well,
in and
then
through.
when the concept that you would go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a degree to then make like 20, 30,000 a year.
You max out at 50.
Yeah.
In that
Well,
50, you also get stipend, you also get mileage reimbursement, and those things. So it adds up to a little bit more than 50. At 50 is a pretty low number.
yeah.
Think about California, LA.
40,000, 50,000, the poverty line there.
Suspect
Hmm.
the model of brick and mortar churches is starting to lose its utility. I don't see how it recovers.
Well, I don't know. I went to church this morning, and it was one of those down here in El Paso. I just needed to get some spiritual uplifting. That thing was packed, and they say that thing holds about 5,000 people in it. So I don't know about that.
The
The
problem
mega
is,
churches are doing really good. The small ones, those are the ones that haven't had any growth, stagnation. They're dying out everywhere. And it doesn't matter what denomination. It's dying out and those are gone. When you put in the online ministry and all that kind of stuff, then you have more of a reach. You have a larger congregation, even though they're not there. You also have more money that's coming in.
it's also it's kind of a show, the mega churches. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's like I'm not saying that people aren't going to go to those things. I mean, you see traditional churches, Catholic, Orthodox, their attendance is definitely on the upshoot. The internet has a large part to do with that. The Catholics are doing a massive push and campaigning on the internet. The Orthodox as well, and there's a lot of depth, and there's a lot more to those traditions than the Protestant non-denominational, because there's no history, there's no depth, there's no there's
There's
no
no.
compendium of saints, that you could spend the rest of your life studying Catholicism or Orthodoxy. There's limitless amounts of knowledge to draw upon for the intellectually curious. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to let you finish your thought, but the thing that when I was talking to the people today, is there's no rules. You do, it's all feel good. Put it bluntly. There's no like food doctrine. There's no. You can come as you are. There's no judgment if you're wearing the proper clothes. There's none of the rules on like 10% tithe. They just ask for donations, what you can afford. If you can't, there's no push. There's just. I think when I was growing up, there was like 20 fundamental beliefs of the Adventist Church, and now there's what, almost 30. It's just
I lost track.
the thing that really concerned me about. Have you ever heard of Elmshaven, Colin?
No.
Cory, you've heard of Elmshaven, right?
Yep. It's
So
back down to 28 now.
is it down to 28? All right. Oh, Ellen White lived in, up in England, and her house is up there, and they have like I think they call it Elmshaven. I think that's the appropriate
In
word.
England?
In England, California, where Pacific Union College.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the thing that concerned me is when you go and you can read like first edition Ellen White through whatever edition they're up to now, and you can read the books, and you can open them up chapter by chapter, page by page, and sit there, and you can look at the books have been changed. The words are different. They've changed Steps to Christ was one of the books I was reading, and you can read the books, and they've rewritten the book. They've changed it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is supposedly prophesied speech, and you read the books, and they're different. So they've edited the books and changed the words.
Well,
Steps of Christ isn't built around the prophetic and that kind of stuff. That would be a couple of the other books. That one's more.
Great controversy. It was great
there we go. Great controversy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It was great controversy.
I was like, that book is not built around that one.
No, I apologize to all those Adventists that probably aren't listening. It was great controversy, but
I don't even want to like poo-poo all over Adventism because I don't look at them any different than any other denomination at this point in terms of fallibility, including the Orthodox and Catholic Church. I think there's been a shift in, I don't know. My biggest problem is when you are a part of a system that is openly trying to attack you and your children, and that's not being dealt with like at the local. It's like it feels like dad's not home to me. It feels like when I go to church, it feels like I'm going into the house of a stepmom that wants everyone to be okay, but we don't talk about alcoholic dad or the other problems or the beatings or all that stuff. We don't talk about that. We just, keep a stiff upper lip and just, we just pretend it's not happening. And it's offensive to me when you're trying to proclaim that you are an arbiter of truth, that you consciously, because the crimes that have been committed against humanity in the last 5-8 years en masse are worse than anything I've ever read about in human history. It's going to take a long time. I mean, first off, do you think that's an overstatement in terms of scale and magnitude and intensity?
Of crimes or of the perfection, showing the perfection model.
I'm still salty about COVID because I knew it was a psyop from the beginning, and they openly murdered people in my family and people around my family, and we're just going to sit here and pretend that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
That happened
not
everywhere.
You guys, I'm saying in general, And
yeah, that happened everywhere, and it's still killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming out and flat out saying that these things are killing people. Like Mike Johnson said it the other day in front of a crowd of people. A mom came up to him and said, "This thing killed my daughter. The media censored me. I couldn't get the story out." And he said, "Please so everyone understands. This woman was censored. Her daughter was killed by and
is that the COVID shot?" Okay.
Yeah, and there was so many denominations pushing it, accepting it. There's others that were pushing against it. A church shut down. There's places here where I live that they said no. Take us to court.
Yeah,
and it happened.
There were a couple.
Other churches are like, "Oh, we'll shut down. We'll do this and that," and people were either enraged that they kept it open or enraged that they shut it down. And there was no middle ground. People were coming together. It showed us who we really are.
Yeah.
100%. Christians showed who we really are. We are against each other. If we are not doing the same, then you are evil. So it's like, okay, where in the Bible does it say that? And that happened in majority of the denominations out there, and it's like, okay,
Romans
so
13, man. Romans
yeah,
13, submit. I had that. I just, anyway, the whole thing was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Because it's not because the scale of the crime, but also how stupid the whole thing was. It was absurd on its
hmm
face. You just had to
yeah.
use your eyeballs to look at it.
Yeah,
And
don't
but
trust
I
their lying eyes. Yeah.
like
So what would you do during the next one? What would you do different?
I don't the I mean I did everything I could to raise hell.
Yeah,
Or
well,
to I ran for office out of protest against it. I wasn't trying to be I'm not trying to be a politician. I was trying to say I was metaphysically putting myself because I mean, when studying Solzhenitsyn and the Gulag Archipelago and what happens in situations like this, if
Hmm
you have a responsibility as a conscious being to do everything you can to lay on to put yourself use your body as a physical impediment against things like this taking over because the fear drive for people that are unconscious, it just takes over like a wave. And people you think that are awake or that are wise, it's there. I was yelling about this day one that they're going to come out with the vaccine and try to and it's this depopulation effort. I
well,
knew
the
that,
thing,
and that this was an effort at depopulation. It certainly wasn't about saving lives. And I know these people as these guys, these think tank groups that build systems like this, they're not stupid. They think in long term plans. Like they know third order effects. And you think the media is like the brain trust of these people? It's not. It's the cover. And so I knew this was intentional. I knew it was on purpose, and there was nothing scientific or truthful about anything. It was all a priori assumptions. And we're just going to give everything over to them based on, oh, we hope they're telling us the truth after they've lied to us about every single war, including World War II and one. There's not a single war we've told the truth about or we've had to sacrifice for. There's not the child trafficking in this country is we have more slaves in this country than we did during the height of the Civil War, and they're all children, So I don't.
sex trafficking
So,
too.
yeah, so it's we're going to trust these people. There's nothing every single word that comes out of their mouth is I can't even find anything that's true from the media at all. Even the right wing stuff, it's all limited hangout. It's like a
How
distraction.
about you, Cody? What would you do different in the future?
Probably nothing because I was pretty much an outspoken critic of it the whole entire time. I did not wear my. I don't know. I have to say, when you're taking your family out into public, you don't necessarily want to bring innocence into your protest. So, but well, when I was on my own, because I was driving a truck the whole entire time, I didn't care. But I did wear a mask when I was around my wife and kids, because I don't need to bring them into my little battle with it. And then a lot of what I did is just avoided problems, kind of the old. I did not see any point to go to Walmart. I did not see any point to go to Lowe's. I went to Home Depot, and I'm like, so let's get this right. We all standing in line here, outside, freezing our butts off, waiting to go into a store, but we're all clustered together. Yeah. I did speak out a lot against stupidity in person. I didn't have a platform like this to say it, but at the time I was just trying to survive. Didn't want to, and that would probably be the thing I do different is be more outspoken against it. I had a
I'd be a
really good
bit
time.
smarter
Yeah,
in how I did it. I went ape shit nuts.
yeah,
I
I
was
remember.
so angry. I've never been an angry person until that. And then I understood what anger is.
Yeah,
Every day, wake up in a rage.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. The time is I had my wife and I only had my oldest daughter at the time, but I didn't bring them into my battles because. But when I was out in public in my truck, couldn't harm anyone but myself. It was a totally different ballgame. Um, the thing that
One of the
I.
other things that I would do different
Mhm.
is I would be, because I've been doing a lot of research on this. There's this Dr. Artis, I believe his name is, and he goes, the venom and spike protein can actually be counterbalanced and gotten out of you. And he has been outspoken about this a lot. He got censored. But knowing these people and knowing the products that prevent a lot of these things from harming us, right? I've been doing a lot of research on that to see what's out there, what really works, what doesn't. Because the next time it's going to happen, I'm going to have a stockpile for my family and I, so that we stay safe, we stay healthy, and all that kind of stuff, and stand up for the belief that I will not get the poison put in me because they're going to push it again. And it's probably going to be a whole lot worse because my job was at the stake of being able to have my livelihood, medical field. If you didn't get it, you're out. So I might as well be out. It's not that um, it's not that important. I can do something else. So looking at what happened, also being vocal about how this really wrecked families.
Oh yeah.
This totally wrecked families that couldn't see each other. People that were in nursing homes, assisted livings, they were blocked off.
Oh,
That's not.
how about like even the governor here in New Mexico? It's unspoken, and she won re-election, which is, but she took sick people and put them in. They didn't call them nursing homes, but assisted living because they were on their way out, and then they basically introduced the virus into the most vulnerable population of these elderly people, and it was horrible. And they did that in New York. They've pushed that underneath the. They didn't bring that to any light.
Because they were controlling the narrative.
Yeah.
Just like how most of the things have happened, what happened in Russia when the oh man, I
The
hate
Gulag
saying that
Archipelago,
word. There we go.
Solzhenitsyn.
Happened.
Yep.
People didn't stand up. People didn't say anything. They created the narrative and ran the narrative. That happened so many times, and it happened in the United States so many times. And when we go against that, being more and more vocal, changing that narrative, then we have more for momentum, right? Outside of that, governors will do governor stuff. Mayors will do mayor stuff. They will do all kinds of stuff, and they would like to silence the people that actually care what's happening, that care about each other, and say no, that's not right. That's a lie. That's enough. And they don't like having people like that around because it breaks up that narrative that they want to push out, and so they can control. Like Colin talked about earlier, control. The
Mhm.
world has always been about the control.
Yeah. Definitely.
When people start losing control, that's when things get heinous. That's when things come out as, hey, you're murdering your loved ones because you didn't get this, didn't do this, you didn't put on a mask. You're a murderer now. It's
This,
like,
this, the thing that really frustrates me about that whole period of time is how they have. Trump was doing all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Trump was in there first, and he had the first 9 months of COVID. Now I'm not saying that Biden didn't take it up to another notch, um, but he was pushing that crap too.
So I got a
He,
little quick story about that. Wouldn't finish your thought, but
so he pushed the manufacture of the vaccine. He was pounding his drum about how fast they got it out there and how great it was, doing all his normal trumpet crap. Um, and then the irony is how no one would take it when it was being administered. I think the big difference is he was going to make it available. He wasn't going to make it mandatory. But he had a part in all that crap too. And when South Carolina said, or one of the Carolinas said, "We're gonna, this is crap." He's like, "Well, Now I think he was misled by Anthony Fauci, and all his advisors misled him. And I think he learned from that. But he still needs to take credit where credit's due. He pushed a lot of that stuff. So, what were you going to say, Colin?
So I know people that have Trump's phone number and talk to him on like a weekly basis. And I cornered them and I was like, look, I need you to just be straight up with me. What was that? You know just as well as I do that this was a psyop and this was all like intentional. What does he know and what doesn't he know? And basically what they told me was it was again, in chess, you got to know when to sacrifice your pawns.
Okay.
And the environment was not conducive to if he stood on the bully pulpit and said they're trying to murder everybody, they would impeach him. Most of the country would be on board with it, and it'd be over. And that makes me want to throw up thinking about it, but I also have to be intellectually honest about it. Yeah, that's what would happen. If I was in that position, I'd be screaming in the Senate floor, like until they kick me out, like using every leverage point I have. Maybe I get some people around me that can, back it up, not just go off on my own about it and kind of set, but
Yeah.
A part of Trump's strategy is to use their own internal logic against them in the sense of, okay, this is the paradigm. Fine, we'll play this to its logical conclusion and we'll accelerate it.
Yeah.
But we're going to get a shot. We'll get one in like maybe 5 or 10 years of safety studies. No, I want one tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I want you to give something that's safe for the population. And that's what his order was, that I want it to be safe and effective, right? And they've had this stuff sitting on the shelf for decades. Like they already knew this is a long Operation Lockstep. The Rockefeller plan is open source. You can look it up. It was printed by the Rockefeller Foundation. It's a real thing, and it's a situation of there's a pandemic, and how do you get all information nodes to silo into the same paradigm very quickly? I have never in my entire life, I've never in human history seen the entire planet fall under a single paradigm of perception. Like that was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. Even if it was the truth, to have the infrastructure in place to get Ugandan, news networks saying the exact same thing as you got in Ireland, as you got in China, as you got in Russia, it was global.
Yeah.
It was the most amazing thing I've ever, and it looked, and because of the scale of it, it looked real to people. But obviously it's like, well, where did it go? There's still some people that go, oh yeah, no, I got COVID the other day. There's still a few of those people, but most people are like, yeah, we're okay. The weird thing is you tell people they're sick and it's deadly, the mind will make you sick.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Like a placebo effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the things that you hit on, which parallels with religion, people don't do their own research. They listen to talking heads, whether it's behind a pulpit in a church or whether it's behind a pulpit in government or wherever it is. People don't do their own research, which is a huge detriment to us when you read your Bible every day, right? You're studying all that kind of stuff. And you're asking God to lead you into all truth. He will do that. You might not like what he says. You never hardly ever want to hear what he really says, yet it leads us down to where we need to be. So when we take face value of what people have said and we don't look it up ourselves, that's when we really lose our ability to be self-governing. You know, you can listen to a sermon and you don't look it up. Hey, it sounds good. Hey, sounds nice. But is that what God is asking? Is that what God wants us to do? You know, state, governor, mayor, whoever says, hey, or NIH says, hey, do this. And you don't do your own research, like, yeah, I just get it. But if you do your own research and look at it, you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And why is all the information shut down? And where did all this censorship come up? And what's the reason behind it? Is this really reasonable or is it not? Is what the pastor's saying reasonable or not? Or is the president or the pope or whoever, are they saying the truth or what's going on? Because none of this makes sense. Having that discernment, less and less people have.
Yeah, simple curiosity. The curiosity gene is dead in a lot of people. I ask people, don't you want to know why or how this happened? And the answer 99% of the time is no. I don't want to know. I don't care. And it's like, this is how God smote the world with a flood. Like, it's this kind of thinking. It's like, that is, you want to guarantee that we're going to get smitten? Keep thinking like that. It's
Oh, Sodom and Gomorrah
scary,
still
man.
lights up.
I they got if we don't get smitten, they got a bad rap. You know, like those poor Sodom and Gomorrahans compared to us. It's like it's unbelievable. It's crazy, but I actually do feel, or I suspect that enough people stood up in the face of this, and I think a part of the time acceleration of this forced, because now everyone's thinking about taking their own health into their own hands. That's like kind of popularized now. It's like what supplements are you taking? What kind of diet? Oh, the food's all poison. Like everyone understands that pretty much at this point. So there's a lot of really cool, amazing things that I never thought I would see in my lifetime that have happened through this. So that's the good thing. And I actually am very optimistic. Like because like what if they drag this out for like a decade instead of like it being so sudden and harsh? That could have been the new normal, right?
So
Easily.
what do you mean, drug out COVID for? They wanted it. They wanted it to last 5 years.
Hmm. Yeah, a
And
lot of people suspect that under, like, say Hillary Clinton was president. Well, one, I think a part of the problem is if Hillary Clinton is telling everyone they got to get a mandatory vaccination, we'd have a revolution in this country. Like,
no,
I don't think that would work. Or
no,
something like, I think people would go, no, no
no.
way.
I think you're giving the population too much credit because look at how what Biden got away with.
That's true.
Biden,
Fair enough. Yeah, you get the
Biden,
expert class out there to run interference. That's true.
he was
Yeah.
trying to use the Interstate Commerce Commission to issue like you can't travel between states, and they kept knocking him down. Um, you know, it was the whole thing was a mess.
The
I never
point
They
thought
is,
it.
learned from it.
I never
They
right.
thought
learned
it.
from it.
Oh yeah, yeah. They learned a lot. It was a big research experiment. I think. Um,
Hmm.
But did we learn anything from it? That's why I asked the question, what would you do different? Are we learning anything? Are we pulling things out like they are pulling things out? Hey, this worked, this didn't work. How can we do it better so that we can get everybody? Us, they did this. What can I do better to do, just reshape this, to do that? Because if we're not thinking about lessons learned, maybe we do the same stuff over and over again, expecting a different result.
definition of insanity.
Yeah. I can I flesh out what you just asked there a little bit?
Oh yeah,
I
go
said
for it,
I
man.
Yeah.
wouldn't do. I wouldn't do anything different. Kind of made that like, but the thing is, I would do a lot of things that, well, one, in my experience, you don't learn until you throw yourself in the thing itself. You know what I mean? You don't know how a system works until you just jump in and start doing it. Like, I need to learn with my hands to understand how this works. So through this process, I learned how our local politics work. I learned a lot about humans, about how people think, about the ego mind, and then that led into spirituality and all the research and work that's been done across religions to understand what drives the human, and even stuff that's outside of my wheelhouse or outside of my comfort zone. It's like, once I opened myself up to a lot of different viewpoints to try to find the overlap. You know, I I'm again, let me just preface this by saying I'm a Christian because the Christ event, the event on Golgotha, was the
What?
first time, the Golgotha event where Christ was murdered or killed, the
Oh,
hill of the
never
it
heard of
Yeah,
it.
Golgotha.
it was
I've never
the
heard of it
turning
like that
point.
before.
That's what Steiner calls it.
Oh, okay.
Um, it was an event in time that caused the turning in history to start the ascension of human evolution to the point of where humans start awakening to what we are. And that opened up because of he acted out universal love. And that was not a concept prior to that. You go, like, I've listened to a lot of Tibetans and Tibetan monks and people in the East that talk about kindness, compassion, and honesty, and letting go of the ego self and all that stuff, which is great, but they don't talk about a concept called love. It's almost foreign. It's a very interesting word. I'd actually be very interested in what you think of that word and its etymology, the word love, not agape. And we kind of talked about this last time, but I'm saying that there's a lot of aggression words and Roman words, but the word love is almost Germanic in its origination. It's a very simple word for a very complex thing that it's hard to put your finger on. To me, I'll just give you my definition of it. Love is divine wisdom flowing through the human body. It's your connection to God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So when you make that connection, you automatically will notice there's a connection between you and all mankind. And even deeper than that, once you realize that about mankind, you realize that you are a part of creation as a whole. So
So when you
everything
use
is a part
that
of love.
scripture passage of loving God with all your heart, mind, people throw in soul, people throw in some other words, right?
It doesn't say
What
soul,
that
you're right.
what that word actually is your whole being,
Right.
everything that you utilize, your
Hmm.
whole presence, your money, your finances, everything. I looked this up because I was like, I'm curious about this because someone said something and I was like, I don't know. And when I looked it up, the first two, spot on. The second two, the nuance is lost, where it comes out as your whole being, everything that you do and how you interact with people. And that's how you love God
Hmm.
with all your heart, mind, and your whole being, how you do everything. And so that has reframed how I think about that scripture passage, the Shema. And I'm like, okay, so what am I really doing? Because am I really engaging with my whole being, my whole self? And I say no. That's my honest truth. I'm not.
Right, but the point is also not the point. There's many points, but a part of the point is it's pointing to a metaphysic of connection. That's kind of what Christ is pointing out, that all beings, all things are interconnected, which, use your eyeballs, you can quickly see, okay, yeah. Like, there was this hippie girl that I was, hitting on back in high school, and she's like, don't you ever just want to hug a tree and realize it's a part of your being? And I'm like, Okay, I don't like you that much, you know. Bye. But as much as it annoys me to say, there is something about noticing the beauty and the completion of creation and the system as a whole, in realizing that we're a part of that as well. Now, I do think that humans reign, like we're in the angelic hierarchy for a reason, according to Christ in the Bible, right? Would you agree with that, Corey?
Yeah, we're below the angels, but yet after we go to heaven, we're above the angels. Yeah. And I do not, I kind of hug trees.
Right.
Ponderosa pines, they smell either like vanilla or cinnamon.
Hmm.
Did you know that? You
No.
smelling the cracks between the bark and stuff?
Yeah,
It
no,
come
but
you
it
can
smells
smell
like
that.
vanilla and stuff to me. Yeah, now that you say
Yeah,
that, you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But otherwise, I don't hug trees. I like that smell, right?
I once
Right.
fell
That's my little
asleep on
humor in
a.
that.
Once fell asleep on a whole unit of lumber. I don't know if that counts. Used
That's
to haul
usury.
trees.
You're,
Used to haul trees in
that's a
lumber
living
form.
being. You're sleeping on a corpse, Corey. Cody,
No,
what's wrong
death.
with you?
But it's your connection with those and those beings, those in the humanity and how you engage with that. Are you looking at it as an opponent, or are you looking at it as a something that you have to conquer, or are you looking at something different that Jesus had, still has, yet still trying to figure out what that is because it doesn't make sense to our sinful nature, our desire to put self first, love others as ourselves. We don't want to love them like we want to love ourselves. So how does that connect? How does that bring us together?
You can't, if you love yourself, like actually love yourself. Love is the awareness of divine wisdom flowing. That this is the definition I got from one of my teachers. So there's many definitions, but this is the one I like a lot, because it implies that one, wisdom is something that is given to you. Like people don't make up their own wisdom. You know what I mean? It's something that almost is transmitted to you through space time. Like a tradesman that builds something really well. It's like, were you the first one to discover this, or was this transmitted to you through the craft? You know, and it's very rare to find that somebody, and even if somebody found a new method utilizing like technology or whatever, it's still utilizing fundamental principles that previous incarnations of that trade had mastered and proven concept. And the reason it works is that it flows within the pattern of the universe as it's set. So wisdom is like something you glean rather than something you manufacture. It does not come from within, it's something you accept. Um, it's like almost, and it comes from being aware, from being a part, and or being a part of the whole, and seeing how it all flows together and noticing. And that's kind of why, it's like when I look at a stranger or a neighbor, I have the practice of, I realize that's myself walking around with a different memory
Hmm.
complex and a different background, but that's me over there, you know? And it makes you, and you can't love yourself until you see other people at that level, because who are you, you know, unless you're a part of the whole. And then what's the whole? Well, that's the mind of God, or we're a part of the body of God. Like God is trying to find himself, or trying to, like any good father would. He wants children to share in his love and creation, and that's why, as above, so below. That's why having a healthy life and being a stable person in this world, starting a family and taking that load on, is kind of a requirement to be a serious person, or else you're not
It's
putting
a
your
heavy,
marker down on the future.
that's a heavy burden to carry.
But we're all
Yet we
carrying it
choose
together.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. yet we choose it. We choose something that we shouldn't be choosing because it's heavy, it's complicated, it's hard.
And we
When
certainly
you have
don't
little ones,
understand
it's
it.
smelly. Yeah. But when we realize that we are connected with everyone else out there, not separated, you have what? Almost 2,000 different Protestant denominations. You have various different factions of Catholicism. You have various different, not religious, but you have different, yeah, religious or spiritual. You have the different parties as far as Republican, Democrat, all this kind of stuff. And we are pulling and saying, hey, we got the information, you don't, instead of coming together and saying, hey, what do you see? What are you hearing? What's your thoughts? Listen, and then vice versa happen to you so that we come together and learn and grow. Now it's, hey, if you're not us, we should nuke you. We should destroy you off the face of the earth because, otherwise we can't live in peace and harmony.
Yeah, that has been an
Crazy.
interesting development recently. That if you don't have the same opinion as me, then you're evil. Well, I remembered that when I was a kid. We can't. How can we? I remember the Adventist Church was going to rent out the sanctuary on Sundays to another church, and they're like, but if they don't worship like we do, why would we let them into our church? It's like, to, so, but no, yeah, I mean, I can recall some of that, but it's very prevalent nowadays that you have this whole like, if you don't believe like us, we have to destroy you. Like,
Because it's a logical, it's like a math equation. Whenever you have an idea, there's a logical conclusion at the end of it. And your subconscious, or everyone knows deep down there has to be a logical conclusion to this. And I think the logical conclusion of the establishment Christian denomination, but there's 45,000, by the way, denominations of Christianity,
I'm wrong.
around 30 to
You're right.
45,000, something like that. And
Colin, get in the
which,
now.
and there's going to be more.
I mean,
I
Corey,
think
get
we're
in the now,
entering.
bro.
I think we're entering into a time of cults again, kind of like the '60s. I think there's going to be a lot of cults popping up and what's a cult? Well, it's a culture, but it tends to stem around a singular individual. The only answer outside of that is to be on your own. What's his Alan Watts? I love his phrase, best go it alone. Instead of like trying to start your own sect or group or whatever, best go it alone. It doesn't mean you disassociate from society. It doesn't mean you shouldn't engage, although I think that may have been a part of what he was preaching, but I don't agree with him on that. I think you should engage. I think we should. I think that's. I mean, what else are we here for than to engage and to share that love, that loving awareness with other people? Because most people, that was a foreign concept to me. Love was a feeling to me. It wasn't an awareness of being. It's like it's more of like seeing. It's a door of perception
Well, I
that.
didn't understand that until I held my daughter for the first time. You know, seeing the miracle of my children being born made me realize that. That
Yeah, it's real. It's self-evident, and that's why being a parent is so important. It's one of the most powerful rituals you can do towards life and truth and that which is good, because it is a selfless act, especially if it's done with intentionality. I want to bring life into the world for the sake of to glorify God and glorify His creation and to help move it forward, even though I know she's going to die and it's probably going to be an ugly death and she's going to suffer through this life just like I have and like we all have. Despite all that, it's worth it.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's
I
And
mean,
while the mutual suffering, because hey, this is my realm, right?
oh
mhm.
yeah.
Mutual suffering really brings people together. And when you see someone else suffer
Sorry.
as you're suffering, there is a lot of connection and a deeper understanding You may not totally understand what the other person's feeling. That other person may not totally understand yours, but that bond is strong. That connection together is incredible. And we know what that suffering is. We don't we don't want our kids to have that. I don't think my parents wanted me to have that. Yet this is life. We can't get away out of this disconnected, maybe through drugs, from suffering. I tell people a lot of times, educate them. They ask me what should I prepare for and all this kind of stuff, and I go, don't prepare for anything. Just be present. Let whatever happens happen. Let whatever that emotion come out, let it come out, because you don't know until it happens. Like our kids, we don't know what they're going to go through, how they're going to respond, how they're going to either healthy or not healthy or whatever it is
Mhm.
for whatever suffering that's going to happen. Yet we can be present, we can help them, guide them through that as we have already done that journey. Because if we don't do that journey ourselves, we can't take anyone else through it. Otherwise, I call myself a liar if I tell people to do something that I don't do myself.
Yeah.
But the suffering, it's what this world is. But it's how we suffer, it's how we move forward, how we help each other through this that makes us real, connected, and we have more of an understanding of what Jesus, what the master of the universe, the creator, the sustainer, God, Father God, as they felt this.
Yeah.
I think we
And
lost Colin for a second.
love, no, love. I'm listening. Love makes
He's going for a book or something.
it makes suffering worth it. You know, it's like, oh, suffering isn't a big deal once you actualize that connection. I mean, you get. I mean, you know, people. I told my wife like, oh yeah, I told her what you do, and she's like, oh, that's horrible. Like, you know, and I'm like, do
Everybody
you
else says
realize
the same thing.
he gets to see the meaning of life every day when he goes to work? As hard as it can be, he also gets to see people at their best.
And at their worst.
And well, yeah, but it's both, you know, that duality problem we have. But, you know, but does the good outweigh the bad? Every freaking time it does. Absolutely. That light dispels all shadows. And I was, anyway, I don't think I have the fortitude to handle what you do, but I don't really know let me just jive here a little bit. How
Uh-oh.
does
Uh-oh.
one help people with death?
So theologically, I went through my master's divinity. That didn't help. I went through clinical pastor education. I got 5 units of it. That's where I actually learned or started the learning process going into hospice. That showed me my life. It could end any moment. I had to get comfortable with my own mortality. That hurt. That sucked. Through that, I can engage people differently. I see them differently. I connect with them differently. And so there's a realism, compassion, a deeper connection. Then, after I leave, what do I do with all that? Because that's some heavy stuff. Depends on who I'm with. If there's little kids and parents, mother, father, whoever it is, they're my age or in their 30s, that hurts bad. And I have to take things and release it. In my understanding, things happen and it's just energy, right? Good or bad, it's just energy. You hold it inside, that's when it becomes toxic. When you release it, let go of it, that's when it becomes healthy and helpful. I go and hit the gym. I try to do it after work every day because I need that physical release. That's how I do it.
Mhm.
There are times I am secure in myself that I say I cry because
Yeah.
there's times where there's no other way to release it. Tears are the cleansing of the soul. got to get it out. Otherwise, I'm toxic to my family,
Hmm.
toxic
Well,
to the dogs, toxic to you guys. Then what am I? What good am I? I can't have a job, can't connect with people. I might as well be on my deathbed myself,
And it's a
which I'm
cascading
way too
effect.
young for
It
that.
gets worse.
It does. I've seen it. I experienced it a little bit with myself, and so I do things in order to make myself healthy.
yeah,
I don't like running, but I'll get on the treadmill. I don't really like working out because it hurts,
yeah,
bench pressing and all that kind of stuff, but I do it because it works. And there's other things that I do, and it works for me, not for everybody. So in hospice, we have this group um, meeting that happens. It's every other week. We have to talk about our clients and all that kind of stuff. What are the changes in that? In there, a lot of times they talk about your self-care. What are you doing? If there's a lot of people that have passed away in a short amount of time, that affects nurses, doctors, social workers, home health aide, chaplain, and we are getting bogged down. And so we talk about how do we keep ourselves from being bogged down, or when we get bogged down, do we know it? If we know it, how do we move out of that? How do we get healthy again? Because if you don't know those keys, those abilities, whatever you used in the past, I've seen a lot of people actually go from being healthy. I'm doing their funeral now. It's because they held it in. Their heart became a warehouse, and they
Hmm.
packed that warehouse.
Hmm.
yeah.
You know, it's what you guys do. Do you guys take everything as a personal attack, as a
Well,
truck driver,
well,
as working construction?
well. That what you're talking about is why I couldn't do. I did first call for a funeral home for a little while, a couple months, 3 4 months, and I couldn't bear the pressure.
Hmm.
You try to laugh it off when you're in the moment and all that stuff. When you go pick up someone you knew in high school, it was just I couldn't do it anymore. Money was good. Money was real good. I mean, back in the early 2000s, $150 for an hour and a half worth of work. Some good money back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I had fun with it. I had fun. I make everything fun, but I couldn't handle it. And then when my sister died, that's when it got. You really understood how finite we really are. We're a chemical machine that's fragile. And
Dude, go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
yeah, no, what were you gonna say?
I had a question about, this is something that's coming into the zeitgeist of people. This is an old idea, but, it's almost cliche to even bring it up. But the nature of consciousness of what it is and who we actually are. I'm not sure. I might have talked about this the last time we spoke, but you remember that prayer I told you about, the tree, hanging your identities on the tree? Basically,
Vaguely.
when I
Vaguely,
need
yeah.
to like defrag my system, a part of my prayer process is I sit down. I have a tree in my backyard. I sit under and kind of help visualize it, but and just kind of be grounded with the earth and with the world. But I imagine a tree is next to me, and I ask myself the question, "Who am I?" And whatever answer pops into my head first, I take it, put a shell around it like an ornament, hang it on the tree.
Excuse me.
To myself again, who am I? Like, who am I? My name's Collin. Take that, hang it on the tree. It's still there. I'll take it back when I need it, but it's outside of my being for now.
So you're like in a state of meditation?
It's a way of decompartmentalizing your conscious experience and not tying yourself to the identities that we build up for ourselves over time. Like, I'm an angry person. Take that, hang it on the tree. You know, um, I'm a white male in America. Take that, hang it on a tree. It doesn't like take all of it until you get down to the root, which is Corey, what's at the bottom?
Our spirituality, which is God.
No, like if you ask
You know,
yourself and you strip yourself of all identities, what is the answer that comes forward?
my true nature, my true self.
Like what, to me, it's
Is that
like,
what you're saying?
it's I am, because that's how you preface it. You preface like, I am this, I am this, I am this. And once you strip it all gone, you are left with the I am, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I am that I am. The burning bush, the whole thing, the um, the awakening to your agency as a conduit for the divine, potentially, because we could be a conduit for many nasty things because we believe in the process of free will. I mean, if you don't believe in that, look around you. Evil is prevalent.
Well, that was the reason the angels fell. They wanted free will.
They wanted to incarnate
Or is
their
that
own
just City of Angels?
structure. Lucifer wanted to. Lucifer, to me, to Steiner as well, Lucifer was bringing wisdom and knowledge too early before it was earned. And that led to, and that's the pride. It's like, I know the answers. I got the cheat sheet. I don't have to go through all this karmic crap and learn our lessons of how to love each other again or how to be a whole. Screw that. I'll just run the world my way.
Yeah. Well, that's when you have to surrender all. Like this last week, remember Corey, I talked to you, I was having a spiritual attack. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I had to go and remember to surrender again. Stop trying to take control of the situation.
I'm telling you, Cody, try what I like. Do the identity prayer thing. It's it's really, just try it. It's a really good exercise. It allows you to see yourself without all the noise and the personality defects or any personality attributes. You just are in the moment, like you said, Corey, just present,
Yeah.
right? And being
And we can add
present.
that link to this webcast too, or this podcast. And so other people that want to try it too, because hey, I'll try it. You know, Cody, you and I can try this and see what it does, right? And we
The
can
tree
share our
thing?
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that could happen, Colin?
Oh,
I'd
man.
be very interested in what your experience is, honestly. Like, because I am not a woo-woo spiritualist kind of person by nature. I'm a hard-headed, practical, pragmatic materialist in my guts, but I can't be a materialist in this world because we don't live in a material world. We think we do. It's not. It's not real. Love, I mean, the very fact of our children and love and those little voices in the background, it's like
Are you hearing my daughter in the background?
how temporary our existence
Oh,
is. It's so freeing to actually be a temporary being. It kind of gives you, it's like, what do we have to lose when we decide to love each other and see each other as ourselves and as one with God?
well,
There's not a whole lot to lose. There's a lot to gain.
humility is one of the most important gifts I've ever been given. Big old pie, big old slice of humble pie.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
when you get
Thank God for that.
when you're humble and you're not above or beneath anyone, then it's a very liberating position to be in.
Freedom. It's freedom. It's, you don't even think about the past or the future. You're just here. It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's like, because fear comes from the future or the past, which aren't real. That's what I've started to realize. Even though I study history, like, things happened, but they happened and then we project them into our present. And therefore they live on. So it's important to go back and look at mistakes, sure, but to keep living them out over and over again, the point is to stop it, like, to learn our lesson.
So here's a question. How do you stop it?
Surrender is the only way, and allow wisdom, divine wisdom. And literally, I believe that, when I surrender, that when I watch myself kind of like a third person, like a video game, my body does what it's supposed to do. Once
Have
I'm
you
out,
ever had?
once my
Have you
thinking
ever?
consciousness is out of its way.
Have you ever had an out of body experience? It's an amazing event, isn't it?
Yeah, one was a couple were dreams and like in my sleep state, and another was DMT, which I will never do again. Um, it's a very interesting experience.
What was the
I
last one?
DMT, I
Oh
smoked
yeah, okay.
DMT, and it's very short. It's like 5 minutes. It's not even like a real high. It's not like you don't really feel good. It's kind of it's like doing mushrooms or acid. It's not like acid, but as soon as I smoked it, I like shot out of my body is what it felt like. I couldn't visually see anything, but I perceived is the best way I can describe it. I felt like I was walking up to a door of a cathedral and I was about to open the door and a voice said, "You don't want to come in here yet. Not like this."
I
Like it
had
was
a
like I was about to intrude on a holy place and I wasn't ready to see it. And so I
Mm.
came back down into my body, but I could see myself, and like we were around a campfire and I could see from above everybody. It was very strange. It was very strange and intense, and I just was like, I came back and I was like quiet. I just sat in a corner for like an hour, just quiet, because I didn't even know how to say what I just saw. I had to like sit on it for a minute.
I
Um,
had a my I didn't need drugs for mine.
yeah, I don't recommend.
Have I
It's
told
not
you
a good
about that,
idea.
Corey?
No one should do that.
No.
I was driving to Oklahoma into construction in a one-lane construction
Was
zone.
it in your semi?
Yeah,
I remember.
I was driving down a road and this lady was merging in to the side of me, and if I didn't take action, she was going to hit the steer axle of my semi, and there was a baby in the back seat, and I let the car push the semi off into the ditch, into the median. If you don't handle that perfectly right, you can roll that truck over. And I remember like zeroing in on the baby in the back, and then I remember seeing the semi from the outside, like from back and behind the outside of the semi, and watching the semi go into the ditch, and then um, watching it recover and climb back up, get back on the road, and then I remember being conscious again inside myself. The video of it happening, because there was a they had the dash camera up on the thing. It's the most bizarre video you'll ever watch of, like, I'm in this trance and my hands are moving and reacting before that you have to do things. It was. I wish I could have kept that video because it's the most bizarre thing, and the only thing that I could link it to was her guardian angel took over and and saved that little girl's life. I don't know if it was possession or what, but I don't remember being in the semi. I remember looking at the top of it, which is just it was the most bizarre thing I've ever felt in my life. Just like I felt this pressure. Then I was outside. I watched the car push the truck semi into the median, and then slow down, grabbing gears. Instead of like the normal shift pattern, it was like I like selected and went down real low, waited for it to slow down, and then dropped it in, which is not a normal reaction for a driver. And then the steering pattern was very deliberate, and the way the semi even didn't rock, it just held its course and then came back up. It was the most bizarre thing. They even the safety department couldn't explain it. They were totally baffled by how that truck stayed up. I guess it was a Jesus take the wheel moment, but no, I can vividly remember. I don't vividly remember being inside the truck. I remember being over it. So That's my
And how
idea.
do you explain that? How do you unpack that? How do you share that with people when other people haven't had that experience, felt it, experienced it? It's bizarre, right? And how do you
Wow.
share something that is unnatural, right?
I don't know. It was the weirdest, but it didn't feel like aliens or whatever. It was just bizarre.
The aliens are not the thing. There's not. There's you believe in, like, we're all Christians. What we believe in, that there is a spiritual world. We don't like talking about it because it's been ruined by the New Age movement types.
Yeah.
Because it gets a little too specific and woo woo, and like, oh, now it's like, if we tap into it, we can increase our power. That's kind of and the Christian temperament is not about that. It's about service to others.
Zen
Even though that does
shit.
happen, like speaking in tongues, or the whole, placing hands and healing people, or kissing snakes, or whatever the hell people come up with. Um, which I actually don't have a problem with laying hands on people under certain things. Like, I don't. I'm not saying that that isn't possible. That as
I haven't.
energetic beings, you can't. If your heart's correct and everything's done in purity, that something can't happen and miracles can't happen. It's in the
Yeah,
Bible.
I remember
Like,
laying on hands one time. Was It was the weirdest thing. I was driving through Lincoln, Nebraska, and I had this premonition that I should try to make time to stop and visit your family up there. It was the weekend. It was the week they discovered that your uncle had cancer,
but yeah.
and then my Jim Owen and everyone flew in to do a laying of the hands blessing, and I'm
I
like,
didn't know that.
well, yeah, I was there for that. It was the weirdest, like, how that happened, I don't know. But we went into the Union Church, and they had this like place that we went
Oh
into.
yeah, yeah, like downstairs in the basement, probably.
It was upstairs. It was like so you have the main entrance, and then there's like a mother's room off to the like left or something. We were all in there, and I thought we were waiting to go into the main thing, and then we did this laying of the hands stuff, and you could feel the energy
Yeah,
like go through
it's
you
real.
into. Yeah, it was like, wow.
Yeah, no, it's real. Like, when it's done with like, I mean, purity of heart and intention, and kind of that surrender complex,
Well,
and
he
you're not trying to egoically do something on your own.
I
If you're
was
just
pretty
basically
skeptical.
saying, help.
I went into this and I'm like, okay, sure. Uh, hey, they're buying dinner. Let's go for it, man. You know. And I went in and put my hand, and then your Aunt Sharon, or cousin Sharon had her hands, and everyone was there. And I'm like, oh, all right, I'll put mine in here. You know, like a big huddle, and did it, and you could feel the energy in the room just change during the prayer, and it was like, there might be something here to this. And then your uncle's healing from the cancer was miraculous. You know, it was like,
And he healed spiritually as well. He's a completely different man today.
yeah,
Very kind, soft spoken, beautiful heart. Really, really cares about where people are at. There's no anger in his body. I can see it. It's he's
well, he
grateful
was
for
always
every
a
moment he's in.
he was a very always a very stoic person. So
Yeah, he was the opposite of that.
yeah,
Total opposite. Yeah.
I haven't gotten much time since that happened to really have a one-on-one with him. But yeah,
He's amazing. Danny's totally transformed, and I don't mind putting that on the record. He's a great. I'm grateful to have him as an uncle. He's a good man.
yeah. What you must feel energy all the time, Corey.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Yeah, like I'm
New
the
wave, man, bro.
energy.
Peace,
No,
bro.
no. Things have happened that I can't explain outside of God answered. Because
Yeah.
I think of myself as a person that asks on the behalf. Um, and things happen. Not all the time. When God wants to answer it, He will answer it. And um, people tell me later, it's like, okay, I believe that God can do anything, absolutely anything. He'll make it appear what it is, His will is. I've seen people healed. Weirdest thing I would have to say is a pit bull get healed. You know,
Pitbull.
pit bulls like to eat stuff, right? And this pit bull ate stuff, and they were gonna have to do surgery because it couldn't poop it out. And the mom said, well, I guess owner said, hey, we can't afford this, blah blah blah. Can you go and pray over it? I've never done that before, never thought of it, so I did. I actually, before these things happen, I try to fast, pray, repent of anything, and remind myself of the promises. So when I go in, I'm focused. I know what I'm there for, and there's nothing that can inhibit. And the dog is alive, didn't have surgery. I chalk it up to God. It wasn't me, it was God. Other times, evil spirits have left people. Some people went to see some, I forgot what they would call them, but this museum of unnatural things. They all felt like they had an evil spirit in them. So I had to pray over them, cast out the spirits.
You did an
They
exorcism?
actually calmed down. I had to do that to a house twice, and I told the guy that stop dating witches. Stop her name there.
You said witches, right? With a
I
W?
did.
It's
Okay.
a real thing. It's a
Yes,
problem, dude. They're real. They're everywhere,
they are.
especially in the schools. It's like a trendy thing for young girls to be a part of.
Stop stop dating witches?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was dating them, bringing them home, sleeping with them, and they would do spells, mess up his bowels and all that kind of stuff. His house was acting weird, so I had to go in and do an exorcism for the house twice. I told him I'm not doing this every couple of months. This is
But
stupid.
what you start
You
trying to
know,
do is the first 2 times is free. After that, it's $100 flat.
no, I'm looking for 10 grand. Come on.
You want your house cleared? We
I
could get
want him
it
to
done.
feel it. I
It's
want him
so
to
interesting
hurt.
to me that because I don't feel like that's something you voluntarily want to talk about doing exorcisms, right? Because that's a very touchy subject, right? And it's
That
very
that
personal.
I had to listen to that pastor that was on Sean, or the priest that was on Sean Ryan, and he does that podcast. That guy's crazy. That some of the stuff he's been through, like a 90-pound girl throwing him across the room, and they shows like the bruises from the exorcisms and stuff. I'm like,
It's real. And people like to put it down. It's not real. It's fake. It's all this kind of stuff. No, that spiritual world is active. It's engaging. People lose their minds. They can get it back, but it takes a lot.
yeah,
I really, given your personal experience, and I was very hesitant to go down this road. That is not, sorry.
put it back up.
Steiner.
Outlines of the okay. Well, your image to me right now is blurry, but
Yeah, it's
go.
the outlines of the esoteric science, Rudolf Steiner. I just, um,
You are like a Rudolf Steiner fanboy here, man.
I know, and it's not something that I naturally gravitated towards. I am not in that world. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like, but he was trying to observe the unseen through what a Western scientific lens. Kind of like why, you know, people roll their eyes with Jordan Peterson all the time because he's lost it. I don't know what happened to him on his sabbatical with his MK Ultra daughter running like in Russia, like doing God knows what to him. Like, but he's a totally different person today than he was when he was first doing his lectures, right? Have you listened? You listened to his Genesis series, right, Corey? I heard you
No, I
talk
haven't
about
listened to them.
it. Okay,
Yeah, I've
that
listened to other stuff.
that is still to this day one of the most profound things I've ever heard, and it's because he tackled spiritual concepts from a material mind, from a psychologist mindset. But he did it, and he did like a thought exercise of let's take these things seriously because from a psychological perspective, people live it out, they're real. So let's take it seriously. Let's not dismiss these things. And let's look at the patterns underneath. Let's look at the cause behind the effect. And that's what Steiner was all about, was looking at the cause behind the effect. And it's not, and I am not into cults of Steiner. There's anthroposophy. There's still groups out there. There's a whole church based off of this. I don't do any of that.
There's a
Um,
church.
yeah, the Christian community is what it's called.
Oh yeah, there's one of those in Rio Rancho.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Montessori schools are based off of Steiner's work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where it all came from. And or I'm sorry, no, Montessori was a French uh, philosopher. I'm sorry, it wasn't Montessori. It's oh, what's the word? I'm gonna find it here real quick. Come on, Grok, do your work.
Grok is the man.
Waldorf. Waldorf
Okay, yeah.
education. So Waldorf came from Steiner. Um, and
Never,
it's
I've never heard of
the
that either. But
the idea is to train the child in the idea that they are not like a free, like you didn't just pop in. It teaches them the different civilizational constructs of how different civilizations thought and saw the world. Because whether you like it or not, we all are imprints of the patterns of the past.
okay,
Like, so to go back, it kind of reconstitutes those things and helps us forgive the things that were bad or see it as such and not even be in judgment. Just see like what were the Carthaginians really about? What was their worldview? What was their paradigm? What was the ancient Greek worldview? What was the Scythian worldview? You know, and it helped it opens those doors of perception to a child at an early age, and it because they're children, they have a more pure soul as long as they're protected to see truth as such, and so it opens the world up to them in a way that is very real, but kind of it's in a controlled environment so it doesn't overwhelm them because these patterns, like we're still worshiping Moloch to this day. We're still sacrificing our children on the altar of prosperity. Same pattern, you know? But we don't realize that that's the old pattern because we're not taught to see it as such. It's a right. It's literally a religious right, but it's a right, you
Yeah.
know? Um, anyway, I don't want to get into it too deep tonight, but it is something I do want to introduce to you and your personal experience because I want to, because I'm open to being wrong about all of this. I'm not trying to push. I'm more curious of giving some of its principles and what you see in his worldview. I want to kind of experiment with you if you don't mind.
Why do you want to experiment with me?
I'm
Do I look
bored.
like a person that's... Yeah, actually, what's going to happen is I'm going to find the book, read it, and it's not going to be a book that I'm going to be sharing with people because I'm going to write, highlight.
Well,
That's the kind of guy I am.
I don't I well
So
I
I
don't want
can
to I don't want to
internalize
like
and figure this out.
impose something on because it's a lot of work. But I
What isn't
think
a lot of work?
well you're in between the veil of life and death so much. I feel like you're one of those prime people that you can see what he was talking about. Like I hear what you're saying and you see what you see the reality behind the veil. the spiritual world, because you kind of dance in and out of the transitional phase of this material world to that world all the time. Anyway, sorry, it's not sorry, not sorry. It's anyway. I'm looking forward to that, and because I'm a neophyte to it too. I don't really fully understand it, but I'm not trying to jump you into some gang. No more cults. I'm done with cults.
Now you're gonna jump me into a gang? Nah.
Nah, there's
Hey,
no
it's all
gang.
good. What's
We're the
what's the
gang.
worst thing that could happen?
Blood in, blood
Cody?
Yeah,
out.
we can be the gang. This is our gang,
Oh,
gang. Yeah.
as long as you guys shave your head, I'm fine with that.
I'm almost don't
And
have to,
Cody can,
so
yeah, and Cody can. Well, you can't grow a beard, can you? So that's kind of an
Oh,
impossibility.
you
But
poor
hey,
bastard. That's true. I thought you
well,
had a
here it
Hitler
is.
stash the other day. I watched a video with you. I'm like, is that a Hitler stash?
me?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, it's a
No,
goatee. I just couldn't tell.
it's white
It
hair.
doesn't connect.
It's white. Okay, it connects. There's hair here. Trust me. Yeah.
So I had to squint. I had to look in
Yeah.
there.
Did you get the magnifier out?
Yeah.
It's not really there.
It's not my fault that I have a summer beard. Okay, summer here and summer there.
Some are not anywhere.
I'm hoping that if I can get Rogaine, I can get it all to grow in.
This is a caveat and a really weird thing that I'm adding to the end here, but I just got this. This, and I am not into tarot. Okay, I am not again, but this is a tarot card deck commissioned by CERN.
Who?
CERN. CERN. The Hadron Collider in Switzerland.
Well, you're
And
beyond my knowledge.
you've heard of CERN, Corey, right?
Trying to remember. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Helps to uncover the universe is made of and how it works.
It's the supposed, like it's like multiple miles long, like particle accelerator underground.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, the particle
So
accelerator.
and they were the ones that were famous for, like, there was footage of them doing rituals in front of Shiva. There's like a statue of Shiva out in the courtyard of CERN, and there's like people in black robes that it was like filmed and all over the internet. Anyway,
I don't think I've seen that.
they commissioned a tarot card deck, and I'm just going to show you a couple of these. So they put the Fool as, I don't know if you
It's
can see that.
blurry. Your image is
It's very
blurry.
blurry.
Yeah.
Hang on a second here. Anyway, that's Aldous Huxley.
What is that?
The magician is Terence McKenna. This is an international governmental organization that commissioned these cards.
Are those actual people
Yeah,
on those
Terence
cards?
McKenna is the guy. He was one of the research chairs at Harvard, and he was the guy that was like got everyone down the road of psychedelic. He talks like this. He's like, I was going down. I saw the Clockwork Elves, and they found me in my sleep. That guy. You know what I'm talking about?
I've never heard of them.
Okay, Jordan Peterson actually took over his chair at Harvard in the psychology department. Yeah. Look, okay. Well,
So all
this is
these,
kind of a test
so all
to
these
find
people
out.
are,
They're
yeah.
real people. And there's real anyway, I was kind of curious because you kind of have to be aware of certain things for this to make sense, or else this is going to look weird.
Yeah, it looks
I'm not
weird.
again. I'm not into tarot. I'm saying that what tarot is to these people is a way of mapping out the future, and they just projected their future into this tarot card deck. So basically, this is like the technocrats' planned future for the human race. This is their religion. It's not mine. It's theirs. Anyway, it's very strange. I'd love to show you guys more of it over time, but I realize, like, yeah, that's going to take some work, because a lot of these people, like Richard Stallman, probably haven't heard of him. Hannah Arendt. I mean, Nikola Tesla is the king of wands.
That's interesting. I've heard of
Like,
him.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
it seems to be a style of recruitment to get people in on their worldview to like dive in. Like that's kind of what it seems to me. Like this is like a open source way of recruiting people.
That's crazy.
But I know that their worldview is like, look, this is their.
Don't you find it
Can
Total
you
interesting that
destruction?
can you read any of that?
no?
No. You can Google it.
Um,
Actually, I had this like dark feeling when I
I
Googled
know
it.
it's incredibly dark. I'm not telling you like I'm looking at this like, oh, this is telling me the truth. This is like evil. But that's the card deck, and you can look up a lot of them online. And it's not like, look, these things aren't going to like possess you or something if you are aware of what they are. You know what I mean? Like you only give as much power as you give. You only give up the power that you give. I don't give any power to these things. They're not. They're patterns. It's like a playbook. That's all. That's what I see when I see these things. It's a playbook for these people of their worldview. And to me, unless you understand the mind of evil, it's very dangerous. But in this modern age, especially with AI coming in, I mean, all these holy people that were supposedly supposed to protect our souls are the most naive. They don't they don't protect themselves and from infiltration in their churches. They've all been secularized, and they're they don't even know like what the lot. It's the churches are about to be hit with a wave of materialism that they're not prepared to handle for the most part. And I think like in the coming decades, it's going to be really bad. And there'll be like two splits. It's going to be the way I see it. It'll be smaller like communities, and then there'll be the big hive minds, and they're going to be unified in this universalist spiritual movement, which will sound good on the surface, except that they'll be slaves to all the demons that run the planet. Anyway, I know that sounds crazy, but I wanted to
No.
throw that out there
I've
to get
heard
that in the
crazier.
milieu. So
Yeah, I've heard crazy, man. That's
I'm just,
it's on
it
the
blew my
spectrum, but it
mind when
ain't the
I found
craziest.
out that Steiner, or not Steiner, that CERN commissioned a tarot card deck. I'm like,
Why would
that
the
is
government
scary.
entity do that?
Pre-programming.
Well, did you hear if you're talking about like government crap? Did you hear about how Doge went into they shut down the what is it? The Department of Education.
Yeah,
And
kind of.
yeah, well, they went into they were talking about how much they had like hundreds of thousands of books, maybe well hundreds for sure, of rules for radicals down there. The book that was donated to Satan, dedicated to Satan, and yeah, why are
Yeah,
those
what's
books in the
his name?
books? Uh,
I forgot his name.
is it it just had his name right here. Yeah, rules for radical. I'm not
Saul
putting that in the
Alinsky.
link. Saul
Alinsky.
Alinsky, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that book's not getting linked in the show notes, by the way, but
Hey, look, I think people need to read the enemy's playlist. I don't like people are a little too paranoid and superstitious about evil. Evil is dispelled with a glimmer of light. There's no need to be afraid of demons. They run at the sound of the trumpets.
yeah, but at
They're
the same
not
time, you
anything.
shouldn't be. I'm not saying you should be afraid of them, but you shouldn't invite them into your house.
No, absolutely not. But the idea that I'm inviting demons into the house because I have a card deck that shows the outline of their control grid,
I'm not saying.
it's
I
potentially,
didn't say
if
the card
like this
deck. I
falls
didn't
into the
say the
wrong
card deck.
hands under the wrong context, yeah, this, like I said, like I'm reading these things and it looks like a recruitment tool. Like that's what it looks like to me, and to a certain IQ person of IQ with a certain background, this is kind of an invitation that I'm looking at right now. And
Yeah.
I don't want anything. I don't hate these people. I despise the system. Let's put it that way. It's a death cult, and I don't want
And we
anything to
know
do
how
with
they all end.
what.
And we know how it all ends.
Yeah,
Either with God in heaven, or you're extra crispy or originally crispy. I just heard that one today. I was like,
Extra crispy. I like
two
that.
choices. Heaven is just one choice.
Yeah,
Hell, there's two choices.
So
yeah.
you're not saying it's binary.
No, but it's like the problem with child trafficking. No one wants to talk about it because it's the most horrible thing. Like the moment I bring that word up, horrible images come into your mind potentially, and it's like you're summoning these entities in, but there is also the reality that they exist. And to pretend they don't exist, I feel is also irresponsible for like this isn't something for children. But for men, adults, our job is to lay on the tripwires to the barbed wire of this world to help create passages for the innocents to move forward. We can't be blind. That's where I'm coming from with this anyway. That's my intention. I'm not. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we covered a lot
Yeah. That was
in
so
what,
long. That was a good one.
almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I was like, where are we going now?
No, I'm ready. No, I need to go to bed. I'm tired. So
No, it was
I
a
gotta
very
go.
enlightening conversation. It was way more structured than the first time, kind of.
It's down
Sorry.
the rabbit hole, right?
Down the rabbit hole.
Dust the rabbit hole. The
So,
only thing is if you're
what do you
Alice,
expect?
then, if you're Alice, I'm in trouble. So,
We're all in trouble.
There is a phrase I would like you guys, if I'm going to throw one thing out there to maybe get brushed up on, is the phrase cybernetics.
oh, I've heard that before.
And just simply making sense of what that is. So that's the Wheel of Fortune, cybernetics.
Still blurry. Let's see. Down. Okay, Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yep. It's a way that computers and systems are able to map out human behavior en masse. And it's like, what's that movie? Minority Report.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty cool movie.
Yeah, it's basically Minority Report in real life, and it's here.
So you're saying
So
that there's a bunch of people laying in a pool of water watching us for future
basically,
crimes?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's not exactly like that, but it's a similar system in the terms of precognition, pre-crime, pre-event, um, mapping
Thought
out the
crimes.
future.
Thought
Mapping out the
crimes.
future through mass aggregation of data and human information. And what are they about to build, or what they're saying about to build? We need to double our energy output to just for these AI databases. It's not for this it's not for this God. It's a surveillance system. That's the only way that you can teach these language models or these subroutines to learn is through interfacing it in the real world and giving it as much access to data as possible. And they're literally building them. And the Christians are not prepared for what's about to hit them. It's because it's going to look and sound a lot like Christianity. It's going to be very unifying.
Mm.
And it's, unless you got your head screwed on straight, you'll be caught up in it. Everyone could. I'm not, me included. I'm very susceptible to these systems as well. We all are. So,
Okay.
cybernetics.
Thanks. I'm gonna look that up tomorrow.
Well,
Yeah,
Corey,
that'll be a.
you got a lot of things to look up, Corey.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Corey, get on
Yeah.
that. Well,
Yeah,
you're
you
also.
dumbass. Yeah. Sorry.
Don't
No,
call
I'm just
Corey a
joking.
dumbass. He's a very.
I'm not.
intelligent
I'm
man.
joking. He's way smarter and better. He's a way better human than I ever will be. I'm joking.
Did you hear this? He's fluffing. Okay.
I'm joking. I'm sorry.
Gaslighting, man. You're just gaslighting this whole thing.
I'm
What's
just
up with that?
gaslighting. Yeah, sorry.
He's going like this. He's backpedaling.
All right. Well,
I have to
great
go
conversation. Great time.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast tonight, Corey. And,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
we'll definitely.
Thanks
have
for
to
being
have you come
patient
back.
with me. I'm sorry that took forever.
Yeah, get your crap together.
Yeah, I'll have it by Thursday. I'll make sure it's working. We won't have this problem again.
There we go.
Yeah, we've only done 6 podcasts now that been published, but okay. Anyways, yeah. want to tell everyone thank you for coming. If you got this far, appreciate it. It really helps our analytics. But I really wanted to tell Cory thank you for playing along with our crazy. Thanks for coming, doing it. We'll definitely appreciate some.
Only crazy can play with crazy, right?
It's my kind of crazy.
There you go. We've hung out quite a bit then, haven't we?
Yep, that's why we connect. Thanks for having me on your show. This has been awesome. I enjoyed it. Look forward to coming on again. You guys have me, and we'll go down some other rabbit
Where can
holes.
people follow you?
Bald Advice, baldadvisor.com, and that's the life coaching business that I have. And I use my real world type stuff to help people, and it works.
Your YouTube channel will be linked in the notes. I know how to get a hold of that. So
I also got a shop, so if you want to buy some merchandise, the real Bald Advisor or this is the Bald Advisor or whatever you want, you can buy that stuff and start wearing, and people will know that you are the Bald Advisor.
you're part of the Bald Advisor crew, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your insight
And
was
then,
very helpful to me as well. It's always good to be around good souls and people like you, Cory. So thank you. It really uplifts my spirit. Thank you.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron. I love this stuff. Love it.
Appreciate you, brother.
yeah. All right, so thank you all for watching our show. Look for us on Spotify. We're in the process of maybe getting approved for Apple Podcast. We're in the process of getting that approved, but stand by for that. And thanks for everyone watching. So, all right, guys, thank you.